Joining us now on the line, former Speaker of the House, former presidential candidate, thinker of big thoughts, all-round smart guy, Newt Gingrich is on the line. Mr. Speaker, how are you?
I'm doing well, although after that introduction, I'm sort of, pinching myself.
All right, well, listen, let me ask you a question before we get started into the meat of what I want to talk about. How's this planning for the new Crossfire show going? You're going to be on CNN doing a new version of Crossfire before long.
Yeah, well, I noticed Jake Tapper's a superstar, and I'm just one of those guys hanging out, but...
That's the way it is.
I'm already getting a little rivalry going there.
There we go. No, I like Tapper. In fact, his book, The Outpost, is just absolutely remarkable.
Yeah.
I would say this has turned I'm getting more excited with every week of looking at it. We're doing some practice sessions. Stephanie Cutter is very smart. Anybody who watched the Obama campaign knows that she's going to be a formidable rival. Van Jones has turned out to be a really interesting, idea-oriented guy, very far to the left with lots of ideas and a great personality. And S.E. Cupp is just really a star in the conservative movement. So I think we're going to have a very exciting Crossfire, and I think that every night at 6:30, starting September 16th, people are going to be able to tune in. We're going to take one topic, stay on it for the entire half hour.
Well, that'll be
and
interesting.
I think it'll be interesting. And our hope is that you'll be able to watch and say both you learned something and it was fun.
Okay. Well, listen, we want to get into learning something today about Obamacare. You have said to fellow Republicans, you know what? It's okay if you want to be against Obamacare, but you got to be for something. You got to have your own plan. There's another line of thought here, and I want to get you to weigh on it. It says, look, let this thing collapse under its own weight. It's already starting to come apart at the seams. Maybe the best thing we do is nothing.
I think if you want to spend your life as an opposition party, being opposed is fine. But then you're not going to be a governing party. You're not going to solve anything. You're not going to lead the country. Reagan, I thought, tried to teach us in the late 70s and early 80s that a governing party has to have positive ideas, positive solutions. In his case, it was supply-side economics that Jack Kemp and a whole bunch of us worked on. And it really moved the economy for 25 years of economic growth, and it was defeating the Soviet Empire. They were both big positive steps. In 1994, exactly 20 years ago next year, we had a contract with America that was very positive and did not mention Bill Clinton. And it said, look, here's a better future, balance the budget, reform welfare, a whole range of issues that people liked, and for the first time in 40 years, we'd have to be a majority, and then 2 years later, for the first time in 68 years, first time since 1928, we got reelected. And it's because we were positive. We were for something. And I think that all too many Republican consultants think if you can run 30-second attack commercials to be negative, that's all you have to do. So you don't have to think, you don't have to study, you don't have to learn. But we're at the edge of a great future as a country. We could break out from the current mess. There's going to take positive leadership to break out. And I was very pleased that Reince Priebus, the Republican National Committee Chairman, invited me to Boston yesterday, and he and I launched the summer RNC meeting with an entire session on breakout.
Mr. Speaker, can I just ask you, I hear what you're saying, but what do you say to the people who say that's all well and good for Newt Gingrich to say, but you had Bob Dole and a Republican majority across the building there running the Senate. You also had Bill Clinton, who was a Southern Democrat who was running for re-election. He had to moderate himself. Easier said than done to get things done then. Now you've got a man that you have described as an Alinskyite and a radical sitting in the White House with Barack Obama, and you've got Harry Reid, who won't take up anything that the House Republicans pass over there in the House. So what do you say? How are they going to get anything done?
Look, I say, first of all, that if they stand for positive things, and if they have, whether it's on learning or it's on the economy or it's on health or it's on energy, if they have a positive agenda around which they can rally a majority of Americans, the pressure on Senate Democrats who are up for re-election next year goes up very dramatically. And you've got to win the argument at the grassroots if you're going to govern in Washington. I would say, second, they can force Obama into a choice. Does he want to spend the last 2.5 years of his presidency being the anti-progress, anti-better future, anti-breakout, defender of breaking down, presiding over a government that doesn't work, bureaucracies that don't work, cities like Detroit going bankrupt. I mean, if that's what he wants his legacy to be, they can't stop him, but they sure would set a stage where Hillary, if she ends up as the nominee, has a huge problem. Is she for for Obama's decay and breakdown, or does she break with the president and favor a better future?
Yeah.
I think Republicans have to understand you cannot govern by being negative. You might be able to win an election, but you have no basis for governing because nobody has signed up to a program to do anything. And frankly, the opportunities are so enormous in the country. When you get outside of Washington, there are so many smart people doing what we call them pioneers of the future, who are doing so many very clever things that we should be able to build a politics of optimism and hope if we're willing to be positive.
Newt Gingrich, you're a historian and you're an observer of the left. Can I just ask you, if in fact Republicans just step back and let Obamacare crumble, will the left's response, knowing them the way you know them, will it just be, oh, well, we were wrong with Obamacare and with a federalized system? What do you think they'll do?
Look, the left spent 50 years destroying Detroit. Did you ever once hear a left-wing politician in Detroit say, oh, gee, we made a mistake?
Yeah, right.
No. They rode the wreckage down. They paid off the unions. They took care of their allies. You think anybody on the left, and the left is already setting this up, if Obamacare fails, it'll be because the insurance companies cheated, and that's why we'll need national health care.
Yeah, exactly.
Harry Reid let it out of the bag last week. They have their next reform.
That's right.
It's called national health care.
Let me ask you about just the political lay of the land as we grow closer and closer to the midterm elections. A lot of people are looking at it and they're saying, look, the House may be in pretty good shape. The Senate may be gettable by Republicans. As you look at the political landscape, what's your take on all that?
I think it depends on who dominates September and October of next year. If we define the election choice next fall, more jobs, more energy, more royalties for the government without a tax increase through energy, better manufacturing economy, lower cost of health care, lower cost of education. If we have that kind of a campaign next fall, if we have the equivalent of a contract that's positive and exciting and people say, boy, that is so much better than where we are right now, we could win a historic landslide just as we did in 2010 and just as we did in 1994. If we just focus on being the anti-Obama party, we'll pick up a few seats, but we will not win the Senate as a purely anti-Obama party.
Well, Mr. Speaker, always a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be with you guys, and I look forward to coming back and sharing ideas in the future.
Good luck knocking
Anytime.
Van Jones around.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
It'll be fun.